Hi, I'm Ben Ferguson, and welcome to your AMAC Weekly News. First up, 2 sheriff deputies were shot in cold blood while in their patrol vehicle. Now, instead of covering this for the injustice that it is, the mainstream media seems to be ignoring it, along with the presidential candidate Joe Biden and vice presidential candidate Kamala Harris. Now, we also had protesters who actually went outside the hospital chanting to those police officers and their family members, "We hope they die." We'll talk more about what this means coming up in just a moment. Up next, former Vice President Joe Biden continues to struggle on the campaign trail as Americans turn their focus to his complete reliance on a teleprompter to answer basic questions. So what does this mean for him as a presidential candidate? We're going to dive into that in just a moment. And finally, AMAC Action President Bob Karlstrom is here to discuss the new Biden-Harris $4 trillion tax hike plan and how it will impact you. All this coming up in just a moment, but a quick reminder. Make sure you hit share on this video with your family and friends so that we can get the word out and also irritate the left about what's really going on with the Biden-Harris campaign. Your AMAC Weekly News starts right now. Over the past week, not one but 2 police officers were shot in cold blood as they sat in their patrol car. A suspect approached them and shot them both in the face. Now, the mainstream media doesn't want to talk about this because it goes against their narrative that law enforcement is all evil and racist. It's called dehumanization of the police, of law and order. The fact is, our men and women in uniform deserve to be recognized as the heroes that they actually are. Now, to quote Black Lives Matter, I want us to actually say their names. Now, one of the officers is a 31-year-old woman who has a 6-year-old child, and the other is a 24-year-old male. Unlike what we see across the country, no one is saying their names. No NFL players are writing their names on their helmets, like they did for an accused rapist and woman beater, Jacob Blake. Kamala Harris isn't going to visit these 2 officers in the hospital and telling them that she is, quote, proud of them, like she did for Jacob Blake. Again, the man who had multiple warrants and had been charged with rape. Instead, we had protesters from Black Lives Matter actually blocking the entrances and the exits to the hospital where the 2 officers were being treated. And what were they shouting? They were shouting things just like this.
How you doing there? I'll call you and I want to deliver the message to the I hope yeah, just like that.
Now, I want you to think about what's happening inside of this hospital. While Black Lives Matter, the organization that the vice president or former vice president Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are endorsing, supporting, and actively asking for their support, is outside chanting, "We hope they blinking die," clearly referring to the police. One of these police officers, Officer Claudia, has a young child. She's a former librarian who decided to sign up to become a sheriff's deputy because she wanted to make sure that her child had a great city to grow up in. Now, we actually have actual footage of this hero, a hero that has not been called a hero by Kamala Harris, who actually called a man that beat a woman and raped her a hero. She said she was rooting for him, that she was honored to meet with him. Why aren't you meeting with these actual heroes is the question that the media should be asking of the Democratic campaign. Now, think about what this woman did. Despite being shot through the jaw, protecting and tending to her partner, she called for backup because she didn't know if another attack was coming. That's what a hero looks like. That is who Kamala Harris should be meeting with. I want you to look at this video. The family wanted the world to see this. They said, please release this video so you know what our family members went through, all because they were wearing a uniform. Take a look at this from ABC News.
Tonight, new security camera footage capturing this female LA County Sheriff's deputy shot through the jaw, but tending to her partner. Himself shot in the forehead, protecting him by placing him behind that pillar and radioing for help.
She's calling for help, but she's having a hard time because she can't speak very well.
Moments earlier, a lone gunman approaching their cruiser, firing multiple times, fleeing on foot.
Both of these sheriff's deputies, these heroes, were sworn in only 14 months ago. Thankfully, both officers are now in stable condition and expected to survive. My question to Biden and Harris and the media and the pro athletes and the Hollywood elite is this: when are you going to start opening up GoFundMe pages for these officers? Why isn't Hollywood and their liberals screaming and yelling to find the criminals who did this in their own neighborhood? Where are the NBA players refusing to play basketball games because of this injustice? How about LeBron James? Why aren't you putting up a massive reward to find the evil person who did this crime? Well, the plan of Black Lives Matter, the left, and the media is very clear. They've done everything they can to dehumanize our men and women in law enforcement. Actions have consequences, and Biden should have to answer for his continued support of an organization in Black Lives Matter that actually celebrated the shooting of both of these heroes. We need to stand by our law enforcement. We need to say these officers' names, and we need to make the media show their faces and what the left has done to them. So I want you to sit back for just a moment, and I want you to imagine something. Imagine our commander-in-chief attempting to negotiate a trade deal with China, but he has to have a teleprompter in the negotiation meetings. That's right, a president that could not even speak or negotiate without someone else writing his words for him. Well, this is what we have under Joe Biden right now as he's running for the White House, and quite possibly what we could get if he became the president. Let's just take a moment to look at just one example of what happens when Biden isn't on his teleprompter. Take a look.
If you change the tax rate, it went from 38% to 21%. If you just send it back to 38%, down if you're 36%, 28%. That's what we started to try to do. But he went down to 21%.
That's right. That's the best candidate the Democrats could give you. A man who can't even remember his own tax plan that he wants to put on you and your families. That would obviously take more of your money. It would be one of the highest tax increases in the history of this country. Now, he also accidentally revealed his teleprompter in the middle of what was supposed to be a softball interview. Take a look at this.
But this is one of my favorite pictures. It's a picture of me and my two boys when they were in when they were in college.
Oh.
I don't know whether you can see that.
Just move it. Just move it. Oh, look at that.
And I have that hanging in my bedroom.
Now, the Biden campaign for the last several weeks has been trying to convince the American people that there's some conspiracy theory around the idea that Joe Biden would have to use a teleprompter in order to answer questions. Well, guess what? You can now see the teleprompter in the reflection on the picture. Now, Biden's campaign is acting as though this is not an issue really at all and that everyone's just trying to make a mountain out of a molehill. Biden is unable to speak without someone telling him what he's supposed to say is the point that everybody should be concerned with. Now, I want you to hear what his campaign had to say in response to a simple question about all of this.
Has Joe Biden ever used a teleprompter during local interviews or to answer Q&A with supporters?
Brett, we are not going to engage. This is straight from the Trump campaign's
but yeah,
talking
they're
points.
using it.
And what it does, Brett, is it's trying to distract the American people.
They're using it. They talk about it every day. Can you say yes or no?
That's because they talk about it every day, Brett, because they don't have a coherent
Well, you have
strategy.
an answer. Yes or no?
Brett, they talk about it every day because they don't have a coherent argument for why Donald Trump deserves re-election.
But you can't answer the question.
Brett, I am not going to allow the Trump campaign to funnel their questions through Fox News and get me to respond to that.
Now, the question that the Biden campaign was just asked was not a tough one. So why are they avoiding the question? It's because they know that it's a major problem. Joe Biden does not understand his own policies, much less how to defend them or even talk about them without having a teleprompter. It's something Donald Trump has said, and he's absolutely right in his analysis. Using a teleprompter while you're running for president and answering basic questions from the media is nothing more than cheating. You can't use a teleprompter in school, at work, during a test, or even a job interview. And as for Biden doing this on a regular basis if he became the president, can you imagine doing this in a moment of war? Having to have a teleprompter during a trade negotiation with China or another country? What if you have a really tough speech you have to give about a terrorist attack or something else? Now, President Trump can stand for 3 hours and give a completely unscripted speech because he knows what he believes in and why he believes in it. Biden clearly cannot do that. Someone else is pulling the strings, and we even have more evidence of that than before. Liberals are hoping that Americans will vote for Biden because they believe somehow that Kamala Harris will take over the presidency one day. And there's good reason to believe that that could actually happen. Take a look at what Harris had to say just this week about exactly that.
A Harris administration together with Joe Biden.
Yeah. We're going to play that again for you because you may just be thinking to yourself, surely Harris did not just say that it's her administration, not Joe Biden's. Well, guess what? That's exactly what she said. Take a look again.
A Harris administration together with Joe Biden.
Harris just said exactly what you thought she said. Quote, a Harris administration, not a Biden administration, but a Harris administration, together with Joe Biden, quote unquote. Now, I thought that the administration was supposed to be the administration of Joe Biden because he's the guy at the top of the ticket. I think it's pretty clear now that the Democratic Party knows what they're voting for. It's Biden's the last guy standing, so we got to vote for him. But really, we're voting for Harris. Biden doesn't even know what he stands for or what he's saying without using a teleprompter. The bottom line is we need a president who understands his plan, who knows how he feels about this country, about trade policies, about terrorism, and what he stands for. We need a president who can serve this country, not just hand it over to somebody else. And that's exactly what Donald Trump is doing. He's running the country. He has an amazing staff around him and an amazing vice president. But with Joe Biden, I'm not sure anyone, including Harris, knows exactly what we're going to get from him. This week, we are honored to have the president of AMAC Action, Bob Karlstrom, with us. Bob, I really appreciate you coming on. And we know that the president of the United States of America has made it part of his mission to lower taxes for most Americans, and he's actually followed through on that. Now, as this election gets a lot closer, more and more Americans are fearful of exactly what the Biden-Harris presidency could do when it comes to taxes with the American people. I want you to talk to us a little bit more about this proposal for a $3 to $5 trillion tax increase that we've just found out about that would come from the Biden-Harris administration, which would do a lot of damage to so many people that are watching today.
Well, yeah, thank you, Ben. It's really good to be with you. For some background perspective on this, the 2020 federal budget is at $4.79 trillion. And the 2019 numbers, according to the Congressional Budget Office, were at 3.59 in terms of revenues, in terms of $1 trillion, and $4.4 trillion in outlays. And so now we have Biden proposing an increase of $4 trillion in taxes. Now, he says that, my heavens, nobody under $400,000 in income is going to have to pay any increase in taxes. But what the devil is buried in the details, and those details are this, is that those taxes would fall on businesses and business owners, and consequently force a reduction in available jobs and cutting jobs. One estimate is that 600,000 jobs would be lost as a result of that. Indeed, he also would increase the high individual income tax rate to almost 40%, 39.6%. And so, this is very punitive to the economy. It's very punitive to the jobs. The president, on the other hand, is proposing a 10% middle income tax cut, and which is again intended to help middle America.
No, it's really like you look at this move by the Biden-Harris administration. This would be a terrible idea if we were in great economic times. It is absolutely catastrophic dealing with the economy we have right now due to COVID-19 and the pandemic that the entire world has seen. And that's the thing that so many people should be focusing on right now, especially AMAC members, is, the idea that we're going to do this right now during this pandemic, when already small business owners and business owners are struggling to survive. Many businesses are running at a loss right now, just trying to wait for better times to come. Many business owners who may have made decent money in the past are not making hardly anything. They're not even taking a paycheck, just trying to keep their business up and their employees employed. Doing this now would do even more harm to the economy, more than COVID's already done so far.
That's absolutely correct, Ben. This is a very punitive tax plan for small business owners. And remember that small business constitutes 50% of our GDP. And consequently, that's a lot of employees. That's a lot of jobs that would be lost if indeed he increased, the individual and pass-through tax rate to almost 40%.
You look at what this means for the administration, and I think what the president has to do now is really focus in and really start to tell the American people in the way that you just laid it out, which is this is going to hurt you. It's going to hurt your business. It's going to hurt your family. It's going to hurt your 401k. It's going to hurt your retirement investments. All of this is going to be hurt if we allow the Biden-Harris administration to have one of the biggest tax increases, if not the biggest tax increase in the history of my lifetime.
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. It would be so destructive of the economy. It would foster another recession. Goodness knows, even a depression. And I think what the mindset behind all of this is, in terms of what Biden is proposing, and including reinstating the full death tax as an example, which punishes families in terms of inheritance, which is essentially a grave robbing tax. But what the mindset is behind this, and I encountered this decades ago with Democratic administration, is it's their belief that people are allowed to make money because they allow them to. The wealthy are allowed to become wealthy because they allow them to. And so consequently, in government, if they believe they need more money, it's their money to take by way of increased taxation. It is really the opposite of the American dream. They want to punish success by seizing the money that drives our economy and creates jobs.
This is another example of the incredible work that you guys are doing at AMAC Action. Bob, I appreciate you coming on, and I think it's very clear the Biden-Harris administration wants to make sure that more Americans are suffering, which means they'll be dependent on their administration for survival, not actually allowing men and women in this country to flourish on their own merits. Thank you so much for this update, and I'm sure you guys are going to continue to fight this day in and day out, and it's so important that AMAC members understand exactly what AMAC Action is doing for you, and this is just one example of that.
Thank you, Ben. We are on the front lines, and it's good to be with you again.
A big thank you to AMAC Action and Bob Kallstrom for the hard work that they are doing on behalf of AMAC members. Also, we're getting very close to the election, and right now we need you to be an active member of AMAC more than ever before. Yes, we are growing. We have more than 2 million members. We need to make sure that all of our members stay engaged. We need to make sure that you are a member. So if it's time for you to renew your membership, make sure you do it, especially now before this election. And if you haven't joined AMAC, do it right now. Not only will you get great benefits, you'll get this show and our incredible magazine, but you'll be fighting with other conservatives against the left agenda around the country. I'm Ben Ferguson, and I'll see you back here next week for our next episode.